What makes a great leader? Is it their ability to inspire their followers? Is it the buy in that they receive from their followers? Their ability to achieve above average results? Or is it something else entirely? My name is Stephen Bostwick, and I'm going to be discussing leadership, specifically around 5 key areas that I believe make an effective leader. The first I'm going to be discussing is effective communication, followed by strategic thinking, value based decision making, right hires, and power in politics. Effective communication is the most important attribute an effective leader can have. We use it in everything. We use it when discussing with our team members, our other leaders, and our customers. Being able to adapt our communication style to be warm, personable, and approachable is really key to be able to establish rapport and trust with our team members. Additionally, being able to adapt to the preferred communication members of our team is crucial. Everybody's got a different personality type, they have a different communication method. Being able to adapt our communication style to best communicate with those personality types and communication methods is going to be key in getting the most out of our employees and communicating our vision and message clearly. Some people like a more direct approach. They like succinct communication, bullet points, little information so that they can jump right into the job and get things moving along. While others prefer details, they prefer all the information they could possibly get and ahead of time so that they can digest it and ask questions as needed. For example, let's say we're having a meeting discussing changes that are coming. Those that might want all the information ahead of time or have questions or are naturally resistant to change might need a meeting before the meeting to allow them time to open up to the potential change. Give them the meeting notes so that they can go over them, see what's changing, what's being discussed, so that they can feel more comfortable once the meeting happens and they're more open to the change that's being presented. They might also have questions that this will give them time to reflect on what's being presented to them and give them time to develop those questions. Leaders also need to understand the culture that they're working in. As the business climate becomes more globalized, effective leaders need to be able to learn how to communicate with the culture that they're working in. Additionally, diversity is becoming an important piece of business today, as it should. And an effective leader will know how to make sure that their diverse team feels included. That involves being able to communicate with them effectively, knowing what cultural norms they need to know in order to avoid offenses, communicate effectively, and make them feel a part of the team as best as possible. Lastly, it comes down to knowing your team. An effective leader is going to know how their team likes to communicate, how they can incorporate humor into their communication styles to make their team feel at ease, appreciated, and welcomed. This will, again, help communicate the vision clearly and make the team feel like they can come to you when they have something that needs to be discussed. You want to be able to have that rapport with your team so that they don't feel like they can't discuss things with you. Again, communication isn't just speaking, it's being able to receive the information as well. Regarding strategic thinking, leadership needs to know the organizational and CSR strategic plans. CSR involves giving back to the employees, the community, and the environment. All in all, this makes the world a better place. It's no longer viable for companies to ignore CSR as a strategy. Not only does it hurt the environment, you're going to lose any goodwill that you may have had with customers because you're harming the environment, you're not taking care of your employees, and you're not considering the community around you. You may be able to make a profit for a short time running your business this way, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. So, what can leaders do? They need to make sure that they're paying their employees well. They're offering good benefits that are comparable or better than the market average. But it goes beyond that. It goes into providing a good work-life balance, making sure that employees have the opportunity to disconnect from work when they're at home with their families so that they can have that strong familial bond. Additionally, it goes into giving back to the community around you, having volunteer days, having community events to bring people in that the company sponsors. Additionally, naturally, caring for the environment. This is the one that most organizations focus on, and it has the biggest bottom line impact. You can care for the environment and not just do it so that you reduce your costs. You can do it because you care. You want to leave something for future generations. It's going to be important that leaders are able to provide long and short term goals so that they can focus on what's the main priority now. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of potential CSR opportunities out there. We're not going to have the budget for all of them. This is where having a plan comes into play. We need to prioritize what's most important to us so that we can implement our budget accordingly. All in all, we're here to make the world a better place, and we want our company to reflect that. Value-based decision making is also an important piece that leaders need to possess to have a complete leadership picture. You're going to have your organizational mission, vision, and values. It's important that leaders understand this so that they can make the decisions that reflect the organizational values. Leaders make hundreds of decisions every single day. Some are small, some are easy. Others have bigger ramifications, and the leader might need to stop and reflect on what the decision will impact down the road. Additionally, if a leader has their personal mission, visions, and values created, they can see if their values align with the organizational values. This will help them further make decisions. Are they making decisions based on their own values, or are they considering the organizational values? Having personal values that align with the organization definitely helps, but being able to understand both is a crucial piece in the decision-making process. Not only does this help you make better decisions regarding the organization's goals and your personal goals, it helps establish a strong company culture. When your employees see that you are considering the organization's mission, vision, and values when making decisions, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to consider, are the things I'm doing right now what's best for the company? They may be smaller decisions. It may just be operational stuff. However, it still comes into play, and you're setting the example. Lastly, values are our most natural motivator. They're what we rely on instinctually. So if we can establish what our personal values are, it's going to be really easy to make these hard decisions later on, falling back on these values. When it comes to hiring, leaders shouldn't just look to fill a seat. They want to make sure that they hire the right people. What does that mean, though? It comes down to a lot of things. You need to have a clear vision for your team so that you know what your team needs in order to move forward effectively. So, are you just filling a seat, or are you filling a role? You want to make sure that the people that you hire have the skills needed for that role. You might be able to hire someone that fills the seat, but they might not be placed effectively. This also comes down to knowing your team. Are the people in your team placed in the jobs that best suit their skills? Maybe not. Maybe you need to do a little reshuffle so that the right people with the right skills are in the right place. This not only makes your company more fun to work for, has higher morale, it makes you more effective down the road. People that are utilizing their skills to the best of their abilities are going to feel better about doing their job. You also want to make sure that you're hiring people that have ethical practices. Working at Wells Fargo, I can speak to the importance of ensuring that your employees are following an ethical code, and that comes from leadership. If the leadership is pushing unethical decision making, the employees are going to follow. You want to make sure that you have strong ethical practice in your leadership team, and that you're also hiring people that have those same ethical values. Again, you also need to know the organizational direction. Your HR team, if given the right vision and knowing the personnel needs, are going to be able to take care of you in this area. But you have to be able to communicate the organizational direction so that you can assist them in this area. Lastly, I want to discuss power and politics. Power and politics has been involved in business since the beginning of time. People have their own self-interest in mind, and they're going to use power and politics to influence the people around them and the organization for those self-interests. It's up to the leader to set the tone on how they're going to approach power and politics. The leadership style creates various opportunities for transference for ourselves, the follower, or both. Our emotional intelligence plays a huge role in this. It affects both the way that we communicate with those around us and how the follower perceives us. Being able to communicate in a way that says, I understand where you're coming from. I empathize with you. I hear what you're trying to do. Or same with other leaders. Being able to empathize with where they're coming from so that you can understand the driving force behind their political moves or their power moves. The leader needs to understand that power and politics exists, or they're going to get run over. Being able to adapt quickly and strategically when power and politics comes into play is incredibly important for a leader to be able to be effective in this area. You may not want to engage in power and politics as a leader yourself. However, you have to understand it exists, or it's going to affect you down the road. You may be involved in layoffs, or you may be skipped over by someone that used to be a follower. You need to understand that power in politics is a key factor, and you need to know the steps needed to maneuver this area, especially if it's a weakness of yours. This can be a huge driver in the business landscape, and you need to know how to be able to adapt accordingly. In conclusion, we've discussed the 5 main things that I think make up a well-rounded leader. Communication's key. That's your most important piece. You use it every single day, constantly. Being able to be an effective communicator will provide leaps and bounds for you as far as leadership goes. Again, use conscious capitalism as a strategy. Using CSR initiatives to benefit the business is used all the time. However, you can also benefit the community and your employees in a way that doesn't affect the bottom line, but still makes the world a better place. Leadership values that drive decision making. We all have values. Find out what yours are. Do some self-reflection, write them down. That way you know how your values relate to the organization, and it'll affect your decision making down the road. We want to have the right people with the right skills in the right job. It makes for a better work environment, adds to the team cohesion, and makes us more effective as an organization. And lastly, set the tone around power in politics. It exists and you don't want to get taken advantage of. Utilizing these 5 key areas will make you a better leader.